You are my daughter, and God knows I love you, but...
You're afraid of me, aren't you? You think your daughter's turned into some kind of freak. Well, there were a lot of things I didn't say at my trial. I thought I was guilty. That was enough.
Well, you have to pay for your actions.
Listen to me. Some people like Greg Miller...
How horrible having an old sweetheart.
Listen to me, Mum. I could get a retrial. Even get my sentence reduced.
Retrial? Retrial? But you've already admitted you're guilty. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to put me through all that again? All those slurs and whispers and... What could you possibly say at any retrial? You say he was a swine. Perhaps on some twisted scale of liberated values he was, but my God, you are a murderess.
Bloody Doreen and Frankie. It's all right for them. We've got more guardian angels watching over us.
Oh, what difference does it make?
Well, it's the principle of the thing. God, shows they don't trust us. Oh, come on, love. I thought that welfare woman straightened you out.
Well, it starts you thinking.
Oh, Eddie will come and visit you.
No, he won't. He lost his job because of me.
Bull.
If we hadn't been caught together, his firm wouldn't have lost the prison job and he wouldn't have been fired.
Well, I suppose Eddie had nothing to do with it. I didn't exactly see him keep you at a distance, and it takes two to tango. Hello, Mum. How are you?
Oh, hello, Bea.
Hey, what's wrong with you?
Oh, nothing. I was expecting a visitor, that's all.
You two make a right pair, you know that?
I thought Karen Travis was teaching you bookkeeping.
Even she's got a visitor.
God, I never have a visitor. You don't hear me complaining.
Well, that's because you killed them all off.
No, I want to see you again tomorrow to change the dressing. If you're working in the kitchen, let's try to keep it dry, all right? There we are. Send the next one in, please. Karen.
Can I talk to you?
Sure.
I saw my mother a few minutes ago. She doesn't think I deserve a retrial. She thinks I'm some kind of cold-blooded killer.
Well, sure, she wouldn't have put it just like
She
that.
did.
Well, do you want me to talk to her?
I just want to prove to her that my husband wasn't quite the man she thought he was. And maybe I can show her, or me, I don't know, that I'm still a human being. I don't see how I can hurt her anymore. Maybe a retrial can help salvage something we seem to have lost.
What's the name of your lawyer?
Henry Baldwin.
Why don't I call him and try to arrange an appointment, all right?
But the governor, shouldn't I appeal through her?
It's a bit early. I wouldn't just yet. Let's talk to this Baldwin and see what he suggests. Now, you are going to tell him everything this time, aren't you? No more guilt feelings, no wanting to be punished?
No.
All right. Now, wait for me outside. I got a couple more people to see. And Karen, you're doing the right thing.
Oh, Frankie, I can't go on much further. I just want to get out of here. And I'm starving again. Oh, can't we just smash the window in and start her up by crossing the wires?
You know how to do that?
No? Oh, Frankie, I hate that smelly old place. It's scary and I don't want to stay another night there. And you never know what sort of nuts are walking around.
Will you shut up for 2 seconds, Doreen? I've been looking after you all right, haven't I? Well, haven't I? Who got you that feed? Me. Not my fault you gulped it down and threw up.
Oh, yeah, but I was scared, that's all. I mean, having to run for it and everything. Frankie!
Stop that.
No, Frankie,
What?
no. We're going to have to run for it.
No, he'd only see us. Quick, in here.
Did he see us?
I don't know.
Look where we are.
Oh, God.
Oh, Frankie, they'll help us.
You're off your rocker.
No, nuns are kind and they're taught to help people who are poor and in trouble. They won't turn us in. And they probably haven't even got a TV, so they wouldn't know who we are. And just think, they could give us some real food and a bed. A real bed?
They're a mob of bludgers and they turn us in for the reward.
Oh, Frankie, do you think they've got a reward out on us? Yeah, I knew you were pulling my leg.
Will you shut up, Doreen? I'm trying to think.
What'd you do that for? Nuns don't pick up butts in the streets. And stop walking like you've got long pants on.
Hey, come on.
Eddie!
You know the rules, Mason. No physical contact.
Look, I don't work here anymore, Miss Bennett. You reported me, remember? Just a plain, ordinary visitor.
Oh, I didn't know you had it in you, Vera. Helping out a couple of kids in love. Now they don't have to meet behind locked doors, thanks to you.
You've got a big mouth, Smith.
Yeah, so they say.
You found a job yet?
No. No one seems to want electricians.
They're probably looking for someone who works.
Let's walk. The air's better.
Oh, I'm sorry, Eddie. If it wasn't for me...
No. I got myself fired, love.
Oh, yeah, with a bit of help from that bitch.
Well, something will come up soon.
Yeah, good electricians are hard to find, you know.
You know, you two ought to be with me when I go looking for a job. But I tell you, it's not looking too good.
Well, my time will be up soon. Perhaps we can go to the country.
I've heard that's worse.
Seems it's not what you know, it's who you know. They're the ones that get on.
Well, yes, I'd appreciate that. Anytime. This afternoon. Fine. All right, well, thank you very much.
Mr. Baldwin wasn't there.
No, he's gone abroad for 3 months.
3 months?
The younger partner, Wilson, is looking after things. Did you have any dealings with him?
No.
Well, he's going to look into your case, and he's agreed to see me this afternoon.
He might not want to get involved.
Well, if he doesn't, we'll try someone else. But let's not cross that bridge till we come to it, eh? Oh, come in, Lizzie.
Sorry I'm late, Doc. But I was resting up like you told me to, and I must have dropped off.
All right, Lizzie. I'll get back to you, Karen.
Thanks, Doctor.
Okay, see how you're coming along. Sit down. And lean forward.
Hey, what you doing?
Now, take a deep breath. In. Out.
Hey, what you doing, Doc? It's me heart, not me lungs.
Testing you for something else, Lizzie.
What?
You may have a spot of fluid on the lungs.
Oh, I haven't touched a drop for months.
Give me a hand.
Hey, Doc. I'm old enough to be your sister.
Merely testing to see if you're retaining fluid.
No, I've been going regular. Hey, Doc, can I borrow one of your books?
Nope.
Oh, well, how am I supposed to look after myself if I don't know how?
Because I'll tell you.
Oh, go on, Doc. I'll guard it with me life.
Lizzie, if you want to read, I'm sure there's something in the prison library. Anyway, why the sudden interest?
Well, I've been thinking these last couple of days, I've been thinking that if my life's hanging on a thread, well, I figured if I should drop dead tomorrow, well, what have I left behind? What have I done with my life? Nothing. Well, I want to change all that. I want to study to be a doctor.
What do you think you're doing?
Smiling? All sisters smile. It wouldn't hurt you to put on a normal face either.
Since when do you know so much about nuns?
I know they do a lot of good for people, and they're kind and gentle, and they don't go around looking angry. Anyway, it was your idea for us to get dressed up like this.
Well, if you'd stop your stupid grinning, we mightn't get noticed. Hey, look.
So what?
Haven't you heard of begging? That's what your friends do, isn't it?
They do not. They ask for alms to give to the poor.
Well, we're poor, aren't we?
donation, please, to help those less fortunate than ourselves. Help the Sisters of Peace and Hope to make life a little less painful for those among us who need our help. Oh, bless you, bless you, bless you. A donation, sir. Please, a donation, a
You don't have to lay it on so thick, do you?
Oh, a small donation could mean the start of a new life for those women who... For those women who are in prison and have not yet seen the light.
All right, you two. Time's up.
Oh, just a few more minutes, Miss Bennett.
You heard.
Oh, leave him alone, can't you?
Just stay out of this, Smith. And pull that skirt down. You're being obscene.
Excuse me.
Who are you?
Jean Vernon. I'm the Regional Services Officer.
Oh, yes. I've heard about you. Well, you'll be wasting your time with these women, if you ask me.
And who, may I ask, are you?
Miss Bennett. I'm the Deputy Governor here.
Oh, yes. I've heard a lot about you, too. Do you mind if I go and see Mrs. Brooks for a moment?
Right. You've got 1 minute to get out of here, Cook.
Mrs. Brooks?
Miss Vernon, what happened? Did you see her? I've been waiting to hear.
Yes, I had a talk with her yesterday with some difficulty. Your granddaughter's very uptight, Mrs. Brooks.
Yes, I know. And all this sneaking around doesn't help. But did she tell you what was wrong?
Well, I must have convinced her of something because she's waiting for you inside now.
Oh, thank heavens. Can I see her right now?
I think you'd better, just in case she disappears again.
Oh, thank you, Miss Vernon. Thank you. Judy.
Hello, Grandma. I'll be outside.
I didn't think I'd see you again after the last time.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I can't blame you, dear. It's not like visiting a grandmother in a little cottage with roses and a white picket fence, is it?
I wouldn't care where you were. I'd still want to come and see you.
There is something wrong, isn't there, dear? If it's because of me, I know your mother doesn't want you to see me. Perhaps it would be best if you did.
Isn't that?
You know, when your mother was your age and she was worried about something, I'd know she wanted to talk, but the trouble was to get her to start. Once she had you, well, you couldn't stop her.
She wasn't pregnant though, was she? You're shocked at me, aren't you?
I'm not very easily shocked anymore, darling. No. But I suppose I am surprised.
I'm not ashamed, you know.
Should I ask who the father is?
He's a boy at school in my class. He's very nice.
Has he offered to marry you?
Well, we've talked about it, but... Well, he's going to uni next year to do engineering, and... Well, he hasn't got any money, and there'd be no way he could look after us and get his degree. Anyway, I don't want to marry him.
Have you told your parents?
Mum wants me to have an abortion.
And your father?
You know, Dad, he goes along with what Mum says. But I want to have it, and I'm going to.
Do you have any idea what it's like to bring up a child on your own, Judy?
You want me to get rid of it too, don't you?
I didn't say that.
Look, I'm not a child. I'm 16. I've thought about this, and I think I'll make a good mother.
I think you will too, darling.
Oh, Grandma, I knew you would. That's why I wanted to tell you. I just thought you'd be ashamed of me.
Oh, my dear girl, how could I possibly ever be ashamed of you?
Mum is. She says that if I have the baby, I'll have to move out of the house.
Lorraine wouldn't turn.
Dad's been good. I mean, he still feels the same as Mum, really. He doesn't want me to move out of the house, but he still thinks I'm a child and couldn't bring up a baby.
But you can't, Judy, not on your own. How would you live?
I can get a job for a few months, and then when the baby comes along, I'll have something put aside. Well, the government helps single mothers. And, Grandma, when you get out, you can come and live with us. And I can get a job to keep us, and you can look after the baby.
Yes, of course, Mr. Bradshaw. You just ring my secretary and make an appointment. No, I don't foresee any problems. As far as I'm concerned, we have a very strong case. You leave the worrying to me, all right? My pleasure. Sorry about that, Dr. Miller. Now, where were we? The appeal for a retrial, eh?
Karen Travers.
Yes, well, now, I've had a look at the trial transcripts, and I've read Mr. Baldwin's report. And I really don't see anything there that would justify a retrial.
Yes, but...
Now, please, let me explain. It could save us both a lot of time, and I'm sure you're as busy as I am. Now, firstly, an appeal should be lodged within 1 month of sentencing. Mrs. Travers should have contacted us, and we would have made an application on her behalf to the Supreme Court for a retrial. Now, that wasn't done. And secondly, a retrial can only be granted if new evidence has come to light or if certain evidence was withheld. Do you have that evidence?
When Mrs. Travers was first admitted to prison, I treated her for cigarette burns on her back. Now, she says her husband did that. And from further conversation, I gather the husband was some kind of a sadist. Now, none of this came out of the trial. If it had, well, then her defense could have been that she was driven to killing him.
Sounds a pretty thin defense. In any case, it's hardly enough evidence for a retrial. How do we know Mrs. Travers didn't enjoy being beaten up by her husband? Why didn't she just run away?
Well, just a minute, Mr. Wilson.
Drink?
No, thank you.
You see, Dr. Miller, I'm a reasonably successful lawyer. And if I were to go about taking on all the cases of those people who wanted to appeal against their sentences, then I would be laughed out of profession. I ask myself, for instance, why did Mrs. Travers take so long before bringing this up, when she had every opportunity to do so at the trial? And also, it comes to mind that prisoners might just make up stories like this in order to get a reduced sentence.
I believe that she didn't want to defend herself, that she had such guilt feelings that she wanted to punish herself more than justice may have required.
Punish herself, eh? Well, don't you think that shows signs of masochism, that perhaps she did derive some sort of pleasure out of being abused by her husband?
No.
I'm merely being cautious, Dr. Miller. Because before I even think about making an application to the Supreme Court, I must have valid evidence.
Look, will you take the case or not?
I'll agree to see her, that's all. And if I think what she says is true, then, and only then, will I consider taking her as a client. But before I even do that, I should tell you that I don't handle legal aid cases, and my services don't come cheaply.
I'll cover all the costs. And I'd be grateful if Mrs. Travers didn't know about that.
Agreed. All right. I'll let you know when I can see Mrs. Travers.
Mr. Francis Lake clung to his upturned boat for 4 hours before rescuers
Turn
reached him.
that thing down, I'm trying to study.
Shut up, Lizzie. Won't listen to the news. You might learn something.
Women escapees who broke out of Wentworth Prison last week have not yet been apprehended.
Oh, hooray!
Women Frida Doyle and Doreen Anderson are believed to be dangerous.
Turn that
Police
radio
are
off.
hopeful of an early arrest.
You can have this back. And I think you've earned it.
Oh, a fair go. We were only listening to the news.
Oh, yeah, Miss...
Be quiet. Thought you'd like to know. Another woman's just come in. I'm putting her in with you and Mason.
So?
Well, I don't think even you'll be able to handle this one. We'll soon see who's tough around here.
Been said before.
Yeah, just the same. I wonder what she will be like.
Caviar comes from a virgin sturgeon. Virgin sturgeons are very fine dish.
Stop that
Virgin
noise.
sturgeon needs no virgin. That's why
Virgin.
caviar's a very fine dish.
Get
I
out of
gave
that
caviar
chair.
to me,
Now.
boyfriend. He was a virgin through.
Will you
and through.
listen to me?
I gave caviar to me, boyfriend.
Why isn't that woman dressed? She should have been taken to her cell by now. I can't get her out, Vera. Every time I go near her, she threatens me. Well, we'll see about that. Ferguson! Ferguson! If you're not out of that shower in 2 seconds, I'll call officers and have you hauled out.
Keep your shirt on. You screws could do with a bit of a wash now and then.
Are you sure your daughter will throw her out?
I don't know. I can't believe Lorraine would be as hard as that. But from the way Judy's talking, she seems determined to move out on her own anyway.
Well, I've seen enough of unmarried mothers to know that that's not easy. And I'll be honest with you. If she isn't capable of looking after the child, they'll take it away from her.
I know. Oh, I feel so useless. I had my chance to start again. If only I'd known this was going to happen. You know, I've always believed in no regrets.
Until now. Why did you want to come back here, Mrs. Brooks?
Loneliness. I thought my family had rejected me. Oh, I wasn't going to keep that jewelry. Heavens, nothing was further from my mind. I only took it so that I could be arrested. I wanted to come back here. Home. Outside, this seemed the only place I belonged. But now, for the first time in over 12 years, when anyone really needs me, I go.
It's all right for you. You're getting out in a few days.
Oh, you'll be all right, Bea. And you got the other women on your side?
Oh, they're not much good when it comes to the crunch.
Do you really reckon she's as bad as Bennett makes out?
That bitch doesn't make threats unless she really means them.
Well, what are you going to do?
Show her who's boss right from the start.
Your new cellmate is here, Smith.
Don't you ever knock.
You old clodhopper. I never expect to see you here. Marilyn meeting Monica Ferguson.
Hi.
And I suppose you met Miss Bennett.
Oh, I've had the pleasure.
Monica and me used to be in the same cell back in the old prison till they sent me here and let her out. I always said they should let me out and kept you in.
Oh, good, we had some fun in those days, didn't we?
Hey, I thought I knew that foghorn Fergie.
You old thief.
What?
I'll see Dr. Miller gets this back.
That's not...
And thank your lucky stars I don't put you in solitary.
Oh, good. There's one on every block. Well, how are you, Birdsworth?
Oh, it's good to see you. It's just like old times. She'll help to liven the joint up a bit, won't she?
Well, we'll see what we can do about it, eh?
You put on a bit of weight.
living. Give him back.
What?
Me fags, you pinched him, you old crow. Now give him back before I screw your scrawny neck. You did
Oh,
me right. You're it back. Oh, God, Boot, you haven't changed a bit.
Wilson phoned to say he'll come and see you tomorrow. I think the man knows his business. At least I don't think you're going to get any better. But he made it very clear that you've got to be honest with him. He's going to need all the help he can get from you to make this appeal worthwhile. Karen? Look, you've got to learn to trust somebody. You've got a chance. Now take it. If you don't help yourself now, nobody else can.
All right.
Be grateful if you're knocked before you come in.
I can see why.
What do you want?
Lizzie Birdsworth stole this from your office.
Oh, it's not mine, it's from the library.
Get out of here, Travers.
It wasn't his fault.
Get out.
It's all right, Karen.
You realize I'm going to have to report this matter to the governor. Apparently you lack the self-control this position requires, Doctor.
Oh, nothing ever changes in these dumps. If I wouldn't feed the pigs a meal like we got.
Well, you didn't have to eat it all.
Oh, I've got to keep your strength up, you know. Say, love, they tell me you're getting married.
Yeah, as soon as my bloke gets a job. You married, Monty?
Why do you think I'm in here?
I'll lay you 100 to 1 she beat up poor old Fred again.
Oh, that's not a bet, that's a certainty.
You didn't beat up your husband.
That wouldn't be the first time, poor little bloke.
Oh, poor little bloke, nothing. He asked for it. Look, I'll give him $5 a week spending money,
Well,
right?
you can hardly chase loose women on that, can you?
Some blokes you've got to teach the value of money to. Anyway, that's not enough for him. He keeps putting his hand in the till all the time. So this time I fixed him up good and proper.
You didn't kill him.
No, Fred'll be okay once he gets out of hospital.
Did he dub you in again, faggy?
Oh, wait till I get my hands on him. You see, I had the cops convinced that it was, this misunderstanding. Sort of found me scrap, you know? What did the little runt do? Press charges. Well, I mean, he's the one who ought to be in here. He was doing the stealing. I was just protecting my property.
Why do you stay married to him?
I love him.
Oh.
I mean, if your bloke's as good as my Fred, you can't go wrong. But he's got to be honest.
Oh, men. You ask any girl why she's in here, they'll all give you the same answer. Men, right?
Right.
Right.
You realise why I sent for you, Dr. Miller?
I have a fair idea, Mrs. Davidson.
If word of your behaviour got out,
Apart from damaging Miss Prison's reputation, didn't you stop to think what it could do to your career?
I'm not in the habit of molesting my patients, Mrs. Davidson. Isn't that what Miss Bennett told you?
Miss Bennett was absolutely correct in coming to me. You must have realized when you took this position that at times you would be likely to find yourself in situations where the women would make advances to you.
Excuse me, Mrs. Davidson, but it was I who kissed Karen Travers, not the other way around.
Do you realize what you're saying?
Karen, Mrs. Travers and I were engaged a few years ago. I'm not excusing my behavior. It happened, and it was my fault.
What was Mrs. Travers doing in your office? It was well after sick parade. Was she ill?
No, I'd sent for her to tell her that a lawyer was coming to see her.
Lawyer?
Yes, I believe she has grounds for a retrial, so I got in touch with a barrister.
Dr. Miller, must I remind you that if any of the women, regardless of their association with you in the past, wish to appeal, they come through me.
I don't want to place you in an embarrassing position, Mrs. Davidson. I'll see you have my resignation first thing in the morning.
That would be unfortunate. Your work here has been excellent up to now, and I'm well aware that good doctors who are prepared to take on this sort of work are not easy to find. I would not like to lose you, Dr. Miller, because of one foolish action. I am prepared to overlook this incident. If you will give me your word, you will not see Karen Travers alone again. If an officer is not available, then the sister must be in attendance.
It won't happen again, Mrs. Davidson.
That is my final word, Doctor. Doesn't she ever stop?
The old bull roarer, we used to call her.
God, how could I ever forget? Oh, thank God I've only got a couple more nights. I'd go out of my brain.
Don't worry, love. Eddie'll get a job.
Yeah. He ought to. He's that clever, you know, Bea. A man like that ought to have his own business, not just working for somebody else.
Oh, it takes a lot of cash to set up your own business, love.
Yeah. Well, one day it's going to happen.
Oh, can't you two shut up? How's a person supposed to get any sleep around here with you two yakking all the time?
Puffed up bag of wind. You should hear yourself snore sometime.
I do not snore.
Oh. Baby elephant couldn't do any better.
Who are you calling a baby elephant?
Oh, shut up, you lot. Let's get some sleep.
You keep out of this, you old alcoholic.
Alcoholic? What would you know about you back artist?
Yeah, will you better shut up or you'll be next on the list.
Oh, stop it, will you be?
I didn't start this.
Oh, like flaming hell.
Now look
Quiet!
at
Any more noise and I'll have you all out scrubbing floors.
If you didn't snore your head off so bloody much, we could all get
I did not
some sleep.
snore. It's your yakking. You can't shut up for 2 minutes. Big mouth.
Big mouth? Look who's talking.
Be quiet!
You call me what, you big bastard?
Oh, Jesus Christ, you shut up. It's not
Who said that?
Oh, jeez. Oh.
Help the Sisters of Peace and Hope to help others.
I've got to sit down.
You can't do that. It wouldn't look right.
My feet are killing me. If I've got to spend one more day in these shoes, my feet will drop off.
Oh, come on, Frankie. We've only just started, and we've got to get money to eat, haven't we?
Oh, big deal. We can't stay in this stuff forever, you know. Could have been reported stolen by now.
Oh, they won't miss these. They got plenty.
Excuse me, sister. I'd just like to thank you and all the sisters for the good work you're doing.
Oh, we don't need thanks.
You know, if it hadn't been for you, I'd have been dead by now.
Oh.
Yes, after my wife passed away, I got sick. Couldn't keep a thing down, and no one to look after me. I thought I was on my last legs until you good sisters came along. They looked after me, put me back on my feet again. And then they got me this nice room and a home. Well, I'd have died a lonely man if it hadn't been for you lot. Oh,
Bless you. Geez, for someone who just had his life saved by us, he didn't think much of it. A lousy 5 cents.
Oh, Kurt's just give me an idea. What we got to do is find ourselves some old fool who's lonely and rich. It's about time we made something out of this world.
Here, Monty, I think it's about time we shook hands and made up. Now, what do you say? Oh, OK. Forgive and forget. Oh, listen, Monty, I've been thinking. Maybe you could ask the governor to give you a cell on your own.
What would I want to do that for? Well, you know I hate being on my own.
No offence, Monty, but it's a bit hard for the rest of us to sleep with you snoring.
Are you on to that again? Now, how come the old man never complained about me snoring?
Maybe he wasn't game.
What do you mean by that?
Probably scared stiff you beat him up again, you dumb ox.
You little turd.
All right. We had enough of that last night. Oh, Karen, there's a lawyer here to see you.
Good morning, Stephen Wilson, Mrs. Travers. Is it all right if I see you alone?
I'll be back shortly.
Please, sit down. Do I make you nervous?
Just wish you wouldn't stare at me, that's all.
I'm sorry.
What do you want to know?
Well, I've read your file, of course. And I'm told there are a number of things missing there. Things you apparently withheld. To begin with, tell me about your husband, Wayne. All right. Let's take it one piece at a time. The day your husband was killed, what were you doing?
I was out.
At work?
Came home. Found my husband in bed with another woman.
Why isn't that in here?
I didn't think it mattered. It was Wayne's best friend's wife.
Name?
Gloria Campbell.
Do you know where she lives?
St Kilda, Roper Street.
Is this the first time your husband has been unfaithful?
Yes. No, I don't know.
But it was the first time that you had actually...
Yes.
Did you confront them?
I ran downstairs into the kitchen. I had to sit down. I felt sick. Stupid.
Why did you wait until your husband was in the shower before you stabbed him?
I had to get away. I sat down, and it all just welled up inside me. There was a knife.
I see. So, in a fit of anger and jealousy, you killed
No,
your
I don't. Look, I went through all this at my trial.
Exactly, Mrs. Travers. And if there is ever a retrial, you're going to have to go through the same thing again, and you're going to have to answer the same questions as fully as you're doing now. Did you get on well with your husband?
At first?
Sexual problems?
What's that got to do with it?
Please answer the question, Mrs. Travers.
We had a normal relationship.
I don't believe you. Dr. Miller says that your husband mistreated you. Is that true? In what way?
When he'd been drinking, we'd argue. He'd get violent. Sometimes we wouldn't even fight. He'd just start hitting me out of the blue. He wouldn't stop drinking. He always apologized after it happened. Told me how much he loved me, needed me.
Did anyone else ever see him like this?
No. We lived in a block of flats. The neighbors must have heard us. I don't know.
Good.
Sit down, Meg. I believe you know about Mum's problem with her granddaughter. Jean feels Mum's case ought to be reviewed by the parole board.
Oh, they probably won't be too sympathetic, not after the last time she was released.
Oh, yes, but if we let them know why Mrs. Brooks deliberately broke the law and that she didn't intend to keep the stolen articles, it could sway them.
What do you think, Meg?
Oh, she's always been a model prisoner. And now that she's got a good reason for staying out of trouble,
Yes, if we can convince the board she's reliable enough to look after herself and an expectant granddaughter.
Well, the thing is, last time Mrs. Brooks didn't have anyone to turn to. I mean, she was simply released. It wasn't as if she was on parole. This time, I'd be her parole officer. I could arrange suitable accommodation and make sure she gets some sort of job.
All right. I'll get in touch with the board.
Thank you.
I'd like you to stay a moment, please, Meg. Tell me, were you aware Dr. Miller knew Karen Travers before she was sent here?
Yes, I was, actually. I'm sorry, I just didn't think there was any need to mention it.
Well, in future, I'd appreciate it if Dr. Miller and Karen Travers were not left alone together. I'd better speak to her.
Very well.
Well, I'll speak to this Mrs. Campbell, and I'll check around your neighbours.
Does that mean you represent me?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You know, I'm still puzzled, Mrs. Travers. Why didn't you want any of this brought up at the trial?
I killed my husband, so I felt I deserved whatever I got.
And now you've changed your mind, eh? You don't want to be punished anymore.
I'll have to live with what I've done for the rest of my life, Mr. Wilson.
Is there anything else I should know? Well, I'll be in touch. We'll see what we can do.
All right, Karen?
Oh, it's you. Looks so peaceful sleeping there. Let's bury the hatchet.
I know where I'd like to bury it.
Oh, Bea, we've been mates for years. It seems dumb to spoil all that just because you think I snore.
Think?
All right, I admit it. Maybe I do snore a bit. I make it better?
Oh, what's the use? Over and forgotten.
That's the spirit.
Now, buzz off and let me get some sleep.
I'm not stopping you. You know, old Fred was a good sleeper. He could sleep through anything.
Yeah, well, he'd have to be.
That's it?
Nothing.
Yeah, I reckon that's why I could never hold down a proper job. Not that I minded keeping him. He was good in other ways.
Well, what happened to his job at the warehouse?
Crikey, that was years ago. Got fired, sleeping on the job. Yeah, I put away me pennies and brought a little shop down in Brighton.
Go on.
It's good little business, I can tell you.
You own a shop?
Sure, a milk bar. Thought you knew.
And it's in your name?
Of course. I mean, I love Fred, but I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him.
Yeah, well, what's happened to it now?
Nothing. Just closed up. I'm not going to let Fred get his hands on it. Teach him a lesson for dobbing me in.
Here, let me give you a hand with those.
Thought you want to sleep.
Yeah, well, after good news like that, who can sleep?
Oh, come on, Frankie. What was wrong with that place? He must have been 100.
Oh, God, Doreen, you just don't think, do you? He said he was living with his daughter.
Yeah, but she wasn't home, and we could have knocked over the place before she got back.
We're sticking to our plan. We're going to find someone who lives by themselves.
I didn't expect this of you, Karen. You're an intelligent woman and you have behaved well since you've been here. However, when it comes to being separated from husbands, boyfriends, and general male companionship, I'm very much aware that all women find this one of the most difficult things to adjust to. Dr. Miller tells me you and he were engaged once.
It was a long time ago. You shouldn't blame Dr. Miller. It wasn't his fault.
Yes, well, I'm not concerned with whose fault it is. I'm merely pointing out that should this occur again, I would have no alternative but to replace him.
It won't happen again.
No. Nor will I have you turning to Dr. Miller as a means for setting up a retrial. If you wish to contact anyone in this regard, you'll go through the correct channels. Is that clear?
Yes, Mrs. Davidson.
Come in.
Lynn Warner's been brought in on remand.
Very well. I'll see her tomorrow, I expect. That's all. Will Lynn need to spend any further time in the hospital?
Oh, she's had her medical. Apparently she's all right, apart from being a little low.
Well, I think it best if she goes back to work in the garden. She gets on well with Mum. It might help.
Ready, Lynn?
You don't think much of me, do you?
I'm disappointed, that's all. Very, very disappointed.
Well, I knew you would be after you helped me and everything. I even knew you'd look at me like that.
It's a waste, Lynn.
But Doug and I were about to make a fresh start. Just one more job, he said. How stupid.
Yes. Come on, let's go.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes?
I'd like to speak to Dr. Miller. Could you arrange it, please?
What for? Are you ill?
No.
Well?
Well, if he's in some sort of trouble, I'd just like to tell him I'm sorry, that's all.
Look, I'd regard the whole incident as closed if I were you. You'd do more good talking to Lynn.
Oh, Lynn.
I know.
Hello, Lynn. We heard about your husband. It was on the radio. I'm sorry, Lynn.
You warned me when he was digging that trench.
Lynn, don't think I'm pleased
That you were right? Why don't you say I'm stupid? Everyone else has been looking at me like that.
I'm not in a position to judge. I did a pretty stupid thing myself.
Topic I won't. I mean, I've told you already.
Oh, welcome back, love. This is a friend of mine. Well, used to be a friend of mine.
Look, I'm not discussing it anymore, B, so dry up. Monica Ferguson's, you know.
This is the kid I told you about, Lynn. Talk about dumb. They put her in here for something she didn't do. Then what happens? She gets out, and in a couple of weeks, she's back in strife.
B, you're just pleased to see people come back because you're in here yourself.
Oh, fair go, Mum. It's not my fault if she's stupid enough to end up back inside.
Well, what do you reckon, Frankie? Will we give it a go?
Yeah. Whoever lives here's either lazy or can't get about too good. Let's give it a whirl.
Yes?
Hello. I'm Sister Marie, and this is Sister Frida. We've been sent from our convent to call on those people who, well, are in need of a bit of a chat and some company.
Do you realise you're the first visitors I've had in about 2 months?
You, don't have a family?
Well, yes, but I'm lucky to see them once a year.
But surely the neighbours pop in now and then.
People don't want to seem to spend the time these days. Once you're old, you're forgotten. Oh, but I'm so rude. Please, do come in, sisters. I'll make a cup of tea.
I wish he could again, but that was on the outside, and things were different then. On the inside, the sun still shines, and the rain falls down, but the sun and rain are prisoners too. Around. Last night I dreamed we were together, sharing all the love we'd known. comes around.